As the sun began to set behind the trees, Emma Gardner couldn't help but feel a sense of fatalism wash over her. She had always been drawn to the forests that surrounded her small town, their dark and brooding allure, a balm against the mundane and predictable life she led. But tonight, something felt different. As the sky darkened from orange to a deep shade of purple, a strange glow emanated from deep within the woods. Emma initially dismissed it as a trick of the fading light, but as she continued down her usual path, the glow only grew brighter. Her curiosity piqued. Emma decided to venture off the beaten trail to find out what was causing this bizarre phenomenon. She pushed through the dense foliage, her breath misting in the cool night air as she slowly made her way towards the source of the mysterious light. As she got closer, the sounds of the forest seemed to fade away, replaced by an eerie silence that sent shivers down her spine. Emma was not easily scared, but there was something about this place that unnerved her. Finally, after what felt like hours, she broke through the last line of trees and gasped. Floating some 20 feet ahead was a perfect sphere of pale blue light. It hovered perfectly still, illuminating the surrounding trees in an otherworldly glow. Emma had never seen anything like it in all her years. Exploring these woods, she rubbed her eyes, convinced that she was hallucinating. But the orb remained as real as the trees and ferns that surrounded it. Emma took a tentative step closer, her heart pounding in her chest as she neared the orb. Then she heard it, a faint whisper that seemed to emanate from the very heart of the light. She leaned in closer, her ear pressed against the orb. Suddenly, she gasped as the whispers grew louder and more urgent, the words seemingly forming into a language she couldn't understand. As the whispering continued, Emma felt her body begin to tingle, her skin prickling with an energy she couldn't comprehend. Suddenly, the tingling sensation spread from her fingertips to her toes and up through her body until she was consumed by a warmth that seemed to radiate from the very core of the orb. Emma's mind raced as she tried to make sense of what was happening to her. Was she being transported to another world? Or was this some kind of spiritual awakening? Just then, the orb began to crackle and hum, the energy coursing through it like a living thing. Emma watched in amazement as the light started to fade, the once brilliant blue beginning to wash away. And then, as suddenly as it had started, it was gone. In its place stood only empty night air, a reminder of the ephemeral nature of life and the unknown mysteries that still lie hidden within the forest. Emma blinked hard, convinced that she must be dreaming. But the lingering glow on the treetops and her own still pounding heart told her that this was no dream. Something strange and wonderful, yet also ominous, had happened in those woods. And Emma knew that she would spend the rest of her life trying to unravel the secrets that still lay hidden below. As the first solar rays pierced through the foliage the following morning, Emma once again found herself drawn back to the woods. She had been plagued by restless nights, reliving the bizarre events that had transpired under the ancient oaks and pines. After a fitful few hours of slumber, curiosity had triumphed over lingering fear. Emma was aware that the logical part of her brain should dismiss the orb as a figment of her imagination or an illusion caused by the fading light. However, deep down she felt certain that something magical had occurred amongst these venerable trees. Determined to unearth the truth, or at least gather more evidence regarding the denizens of this forest beyond the usual avian and ungulate inhabitants. Following her steps from the previous night, Emma soon arrived at the small glade where the orb had hovered. At first glance, all appeared normal. Ferns and fallen leaves carpeted the forest floor. Birds flitted from branch to branch overhead. Upon closer inspection, however, Emma discovered something amiss. Tracks led away from the spot where the orb had been, towards the heart of the woodland. They were unlike any animal print Emma had ever encountered. Human, like in shape but possessing elongated toes and an arching heel. She crouched low, pursuing the tracks into the dense undergrowth. The path meandered between trees and over knotted roots, before terminating abruptly after approximately 30 yards. Emma frowned, scanning the surrounding flora for any additional clues. That's when she heard the snap of a twig, mere feet away. Swiveling around, her hand flying to her racing heart, Emma confronted a peculiar creature. At first glance, it resembled a fox. However, it towered like a grown man, its fur the hue of fallen moonlight, and perched behind its unblinking eyes were a pair of brilliant yellow orbs that seemed all too familiar. Well, what have we here? A soft, musical voice echoed in Emma's mind, though the creature's snout did not move. She recoiled in shock. Telepathy from an overgrown forest fox. Noticing her apprehension, the creature, if it could still be called that, raised a paw in what appeared to be a soothing gesture. "Fear not, child. I mean, you no harm." Its mental voice was comforting, yet carried an undercurrent of wisdom gleaned from years of experience. What are you?" Emma stammered, awestruck. A glint of amusement shimmered within those uncanny eyes. "You may call me Esther. As for what I am, let's just say, this forest harbors more mysteries than you can currently fathom." The creature, Esther, tilted its head, regarding Emma with an appraising gaze. "It seems the Lady of the Woods has taken a liking to you. She wishes to engage in conversation with you." Without awaiting a response, it turned and leapt silently into the foliage. Emma's mind raced. Lady of the Woods. What new secret was this enigmatic place concealing? Her instincts urged her to flee, to deny the strangeness that was gradually encircling her. Yet a deeper curiosity had taken hold, one that would not be satiated until she followed this enigmatic path, wherever it led. With a steadying breath, Emma ventured further into the woodland in pursuit of the elusive slip of moonlight that darted between the trees. She sought answers, and perhaps amidst the shadows and mystery, she would finally uncover the truth she sought. Deep within the heart of a dense, enigmatic forest, Emma stumbled upon a hidden realm. Towering trees adorned with moss and draped in weeping willows formed an emerald canopy overhead, casting intricate dappled shadows over a crystal-clear stream and cozy wooden cottage ensconced amongst ferns and wildflowers. The ethereal whispers of a musical voice echoed in Emma's mind, urging her forward even as she hesitated. Steeling herself with a deep breath, she ventured forth into the verdant glade. The figure of a woman emerged from the cottage, her form as mesmerizing as the surrounding foliage. Her flowing dress and cascading locks appeared to merge seamlessly with the greenery, while her eyes shone with a wisdom and kindness that seemed overworldly. "Greetings, child," she said, her voice tinged with the melancholy of falling autumn leaves. "Fear not, for you are welcome here." Emma's racing heart began to steady. This place, like its enchanting hostess, exuded an allure of serenity that she had never known. Despite lingering doubts, her curiosity overcame them. "You know why I came," Emma replied, granting voice to her thoughts. "The orb in the forest, was it one of your kind? Tell me more about the creatures who dwell here beyond my ken." The woman gestured for Emma to accompany her by the stream. As they walked, Her flowing garments seemed to blossom into small white flowers, before fading back into delicate leafy patterns. You have stumbled upon a sacred haven, untouched by the ravages of time. Here dwell beings who walk between your world and realms, unseen, she stated, her gaze far off. We are the guardians. Witches, fae, and others who have chosen to safeguard this forest and aid any who cross our path in need, she continued. But dark forces also stir, and a malevolent darkness within threatens to corrupt the very essence of this wood. Emma pondered the cryptic words, unearthing their deep implications. The orb, was that one of your kind too? And what force could endanger beings as powerful as you? A shadow passed over the woman's timeless visage. Her eyes, once filled with tranquility, now bore into Emma with a haunted intensity as she gazed deep into the babbling brook. At last, she raised her eyes, revealing the stark truth in her stare. The orb was not a guardian. It was a lost soul, once mortal like yourself, who now wanders these woods in despair and confusion, she confessed. Yet, the greatest danger lies not in any external threat, but in the insidious corruption of the soul. When greed and arrogance overtake the purest of hearts, even the most gifted fall prey to darkness. Eleanor stood gracefully once more. The story you seek awaits, along with others you must meet. She led Emma through the stream, side foliage, and into a hazy, otherworldly glade. Here, Emma saw orbs floating amongst the trees, similar to the one she'd encountered in the forest, their faces expressionless. These orbs drifted slowly, bathing the woodland in an eerie light. Be at peace, friends. This girl means you no harm, Eleanor murmured gently. The orbs paused in their drift, and Emma gasped as faces appeared within their faint glow. Pale, sorrowful visages staring vacantly into space. They cannot hurt us, but we cannot rest. A low, mournful chorus echoed in unison. Bound to this place where life was taken, yet purpose remains unclear. Eleanor turned to Emma, her eyes brimming with compassion. These are the lost souls who roam the wood, their mortal spirits forever trapped, and their memories faded. Only by solving the mystery of their demise can they hope for peace. Her gaze bore into Emma's soul. Will you help them? Fear gnawed at Emma's heart, but she knew she could not turn away from these suffering spirits. Steeling herself, she nodded resolutely. I will try, she vowed. In the ensuing silence, a tale unfolded, a tale of loss and redemption, of power corrupted and love triumphant. Emma listened closely, absorbing every word, every emotion, every whispered secret. For in that forest glade, she discovered not just a hidden world, but also the depths of her own heart, and the courage needed to face both. The morning fog had barely dissipated as Emma followed Eleanor deeper into the woodland glade, a sense of unease settling upon her heart. What dark force had claimed these woods, and what malevolent intent now set its sights on this hallowed ground? Before long, soft voices guided their path to a hidden grove, where Aster conferred with a pair of ethereal beings. Their shimmering skin and diaphanous gowns marked them as fairy folk. Yet an aura of regal command belied their diminutive frames. Upon noticing Eleanor and Emma's arrival, they bowed respectfully. "My lady, it appears our fears were not without merit," one said, dirge. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. "Speak, Sarah. What tidings do the Fae bring of the forest's plight?" Sarah glanced to her companion, who nodded. "We felt a palpable darkness encroaching upon the roots of the western wood. Tracing its origin, we discovered an unknown sorcerer in a concealed glade, performing abominable rites to bend the very essence of this forest to his twisted whims." Emma gulped. "A malevolent sorcerer, commanding the spirits of the woodlands." Eleanor's refined features hardened in barely concealed rage. "Did you glimpse his purpose or lineage, Eris?" The male fairy shook his head. "Only that his power grows stronger with each passing night, fueled by some accursed artifact he guards jealously. If unchecked, he will poison the heart of this forest, leaving nothing but a barren wasteland in his wake." An oppressive silence fell over the glade as each guardian contemplated this grave news. At last, Eleanor broke the silence, her voice icy and resolute. "This forest has stood untamed for eons, and the guardians remain its rightful stewards. We will not bow down to this pretender's wicked ambition." Murmurs of agreement erupted as Aster stepped forward. "I will track this charlatan's lair and unearth his weaknesses. With luck, we may foil his machinations without resorting to bloodshed." Eleanor nodded her assent, and the fox slunk away silently. Turning to Emma, Eleanor placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Rest easy, child. No harm shall befall you here, but darkness stirs, and decisions must be made. Will you stand with us against this threat?" Though fear still lingered in her heart, Emma had come too far to turn back now. She squared her shoulders defiantly. "I wish to aid however I can. This forest and its guardians deserve to remain free." Eleanor smiled gently. "Well spoken. Let us prepare, for the trials that lie ahead promise to be treacherous indeed." As the gathered entities began to disperse, Emma could only wonder what trials awaited when they confronted this malevolent sorcerer. But regardless of what transpired, she vowed to stand beside her allies, no matter the cost. The forest buzzed with energy as the group prepared to take on the invading sorcerer. Aster had pinpointed his lair, a dark and shadowy glade deep in the western woods, where magic flowed like poison through the air. Emma, Eleanor, and the Guardians strategized day and night, drawing on their combined powers to outmaneuver the sorcerer's work. Emma gave all she could, aiding with both magical and mundane tasks. Under Eleanor's guidance, she was developing her ability to feel the mystical energies coursing through all living things. However, her own limitations as a human weighed heavily on her as the battle approached. One evening, while maintaining the protective wards, Eleanor approached Emma with a stern look. "Your skills are growing. Child, but confronting a dark adept requires mastery beyond your years. There is grave risk involved if you join the fight directly." Emma, frustrated with the idea that she couldn't fight alongside them, knowingly that Eleanor spoke wisdom. Eleanor smiled gently. "Have faith, my dear one. Your role in protecting this wood need not be confined to combative prowess alone. There are many subtle ways to aid our cause if you are willing." Emma eagerly agreed, desperate to contribute in any way she could. That night, under a cloak of secrecy enchantments, Emma followed Eleanor through the foggy forest. They arrived at a small glade where upsetting blue pillars floated mournfully amongst drooping willow boughs. The lost souls, Emma realized with a start. Eleanor knelt before them, addressing the spirits with respect. "Friends, the time has come for us to face the one who traps you in this purgatory." Though Emma lacked their powers, her compassion was boundless. "Will you allow her to join us in our fight against the sorcerer?" One by one, The souls flared in agreement. Emma's eyes widened. How could the trapped ones aid in the battle against such darkness? But Eleanor simply took her hand, smiling with confidence. Have faith and surrender your heart. Closing her eyes, Emma focused on the flow of mystical energies around her. Gradually, her body grew warm, her senses heightened, and she felt tendrils of light piercing her consciousness, connecting with her. And when Emily opened her eyes, the glade was empty except for Eleanor's proud gaze. Emma had been granted an extraordinary yet subtle ability. With careful attention and empathy, she could sense fragments of others' experiences that remained as lingering echoes in the forest. It could help uncover the sorcerer's weakness or bring new allies to their cause. Emma smiled, filled with a renewed sense of purpose. She would stand by no longer. As the night fell, the Guardians prepared for battle, ready with their combined strengths and Emma's newfound awareness. With each step, they approached the dark sorcerer's lair, determined to protect their home and defeat the evil that had descended upon them. The dense forest loomed ominously ahead of Emma as she trailed behind the Guardians, her heart thumping in her chest. The ethereal magic that usually suffused the woods had vanished, replaced only by a grim tenacity. The air was thick with anticipation and dread. As they approached the corrupted clearing, Eleanor raised her hand. This is the moment, comrades. Remember your roles well. Emma, trust in your instincts. Your part may prove crucial. Emma nodded, her pulse quickening. She had trained for this, as had they all. Whatever darkness lay ahead, they would confront it united. Steeling herself, she focused on the lingering essence imbued in her by lost souls, drawing strength from their whispers and memories of a village on the brink of destruction. With a cryptic gesture, Eleanor vanished into the shadows, followed by Aster and the mystical group of beings that voided them. Emma closed her eyes, extending her senses beyond the confines of her mortal frame. The sense of life and magic guided her unseen among the Guardians, leading her to materialize in the heart of the sorcerer's glade. The sight that greeted her was nothing short of horrifying. A towering obsidian altar stood amidst gnarled branches, stained with sinister energy. Before it, a wizened figure chanted incantations to bend nature to his own sinister will. As the sorcerer's ritual reached its darkest crescendo, Eleanor and the Guardians sprang from concealment, unleashing their potent magic. The glade erupted in chaos, arrows and spells flying relentlessly against the onslaught of corrupted flora. Yet, in spite of it all, the sorcerer laughed maniacally, deflecting the attacks with his otherworldly powers. In that moment, amidst the pandemonium, cold, calculating eyes met Emma's. The sorcerer had sensed her connection to the lost souls, her lingering essence. With a snarl, he tore off his robes, revealing leathery wings that spread wide. He soared into the sky, diving towards the spectral forms, now manifesting at her command. No, acting on instinct, Emma hurled herself between the sorcerer and the flickering spirits, appearing at her behest. As talons tore flesh, a blinding radiance surged forth from her very core. The spirits of the damned had heard her plea. The darkness receded as light blazed forth, cleansing the once twisted woods. Where the sorcerer now stood remained nothing more than a pile of tattered robes and dust, swept away by a purifying wind. The Guardians emerged from the undergrowth, unharmed, but awestruck. In the glade behind Emma, life and joy had returned to the villagers' otherworldly eyes. Their task was complete. With smiles and tears, the souls faded away on the breeze like petals on a glorious gust. Balance had been restored to the forest through the power of compassion alone. Eleanor placed a gentle hand on Emma's shoulder as healing energy flowed into her wounds. You have forever altered the fate of this forest and all who dwell here. Child, through your empathy and bravery in our time of need, this place will forever be open. Should you ever seek solace or adventure among old friends. Emma smiled, her purpose now clear. Though doubts lingered beyond these ancient trees, she had found understanding and purpose amidst phantom and spirit within the guarded heart of the forest. Whatever journeys lay ahead, its lessons of compassion would remain etched in her soul forever.